Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Ghettofabulous Kings of War. It's been a while, and got an interesting game. 2,300 points, Goblins versus Kings of Men, Salt the Earth scenario. I've taken off for a little while, been trying some different types of lists. I preferred kind of a big garbage army with lots of little mediocre units, but having trouble with Alpha Strike units. I experimented with some more elite type stuff, made a salamander list, and I don't know, wasn't feeling it. So I kind of looked at what other goblin lists were doing. Usually lots of hordes of like rabble and sharp six and lots of shooting. I don't like the shooting focus as much, but I figured I'd go with the large numbers of rabble as kind of a core. And previously I've been using lots of like trolls. So more garbagey, but more. And you can see I've got some of the players I play with locally both have a very similar kind of alpha strike. Either lots of Draken hordes and regiments and lords on Drakens, or flying beasts hordes and generals on winged beasts. Just working around flanks, alpha striking together, and picking my slower foot slogger type armies apart. So that's kind of the background where I've been evolving with my list. The tail of tape for this scenario, on the right, my Kingdoms of Men opponent, local. I think he took this or a very similar list to Masters this year, 2025. My list on the left, so again, lots of hordes, 3 sharp 6 hordes and a rebel horde, 2 rebel regiments. Originally, I'd focused on a lot of mob beast regiments, but they just didn't have the oomph, the pushing staying power. So I took a Lugget regiment, a Fleabag regiment, and 2 mob beast regiments. And more importantly, I think in some ways, 3 blasters and 3 mincers, switching from lots of mob beasts to a couple other regiments. Let me unlock enough slots for some of those monsters. The 3 rock throwers, because I can't have no shooting, right? The standard bearer with loot, a wizard with Bane Chant and Inspiring, and part of the evolution of this is testing out a list for the Renegade tournament, where you get to bring 1 non-legendary hero from another army. Or you don't get to, you have to. So I took a cheap one, a druid, basically again, it's a cheap source of Inspiring with Bane Chant, kind of serving the same role as either 2. And as we discussed before, he's got a decent little infantry corps of 2 pike regiments and 2 foot guard regiments, a fanatic regiment with Blood of the Old King, which makes him kind of a pretty potent one-shot punch at least, 2 flying beast hordes, 1 with Helm of the Drunken Ram, 1 with boots, 3 ballistas, a giant with Slayer, 2 generals on winged beasts, 2 wizards on Pegasus with no spells or anything. They're just chaff, basically, and they're pretty economical. And the captain. So, here's the terrain, and I think I may have a picture in here too. This is played outdoors. So we actually played in person, but it's a little cleaner and easier to see sometimes on these diagrams. So, I got a couple hills on the right, some forests. Down here, some flat, rough terrain along with water, a couple buildings, and some obstacles. Ultimately, I think overall it's not like a mirror match, where both sides are just a mirror of each other. So it's nice that it's asymmetrical. I still think it's pretty balanced and pretty helpful for me, because my catapults can see over like these hills to see his big stuff that I'm worried about, but his ballistas can't. And they're going to be limited to probably deploying somewhere in the middle. And if that's the case, I can shield my kind of fragile units from them, because they will chew up goblins pretty quickly. Unlike the terrain, my first thought was that the objectives kind of favored one side over the other. Looking at it now again, that was my thought at the time. Looking at it now, more objectively, I guess it's fairly balanced, kind of 3 across the middle, 2 on each side. But it felt to me like this side, the top, was a lot better. Just for some reason, these maybe were deeper or easier to obtain in the deployment zone, and for some reason these didn't feel that way to me. Maybe because there's terrain around or something. I'm not sure. This one at least is nice because it's shielded behind the hill, so you could claim it was something, and nothing would shoot it off. It's just safe. And here, kind of early in the morning, I think it was like 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and you can see the shadow, me trying to raise my phone up to get a good aerial shot. But this is deployment, and again, we'll get a nice computer image as well. But I deployed very heavily on my lower right corner. I was on the bottom of the previous image. My opponent, as I expected, ballistas in the middle, a smaller contingent on the left, most of his troops on the right. But again, he is the captain, so he could switch back and forth. My thoughts on deployment, and you can see how congested I am here. My thoughts were, I can seize these three. He can claim this one up here. And I'm going to try with the stuff here in the middle. I don't actually want to commit over here. I want him to put lots of forces over here. But I'm not going to actually try to claim these objectives. They're in the open, and if he moves forward to claim them, his flying stuff isn't going to stick around there. They're going to be moving in. So really, he's only going to have like this foot guard unit trying to move forward, or maybe his winged Pegasus dude. I can shoot those off. They're not reliable for him, is my thought. And on the right here, I placed these two catapults kind of, this building's annoying because it won't let me completely view this side, and I wanted to be close enough for these catapults to shoot over here. So I placed these two so they would be able to see the giant because he's nice and slow. I'll always have a good target with him as he's lumbering forward. These flyers might want to avoid it along with these flyers, and they might come over to this side here where it's a little safer and they're technically out of their arc. But that kind of pins them on the side, and then hopefully I can swarm them and wipe them out, because I'm trying to kill the mobility first and then work on the slower infantry. That's the thought, at least. After this image is after redeployment, and actually his captain, he'll be here for the first few turns. He's actually with the main body over here. I just didn't catch it when I was putting the army list together and moving in the game. But he's over here. Anyway, I realize the catapults really might not be enough to clear this left side if he takes these objectives, because these foot guard could move into cover. They could move over here and maybe get out of line of sight. The cover still gives them a bonus against the catapults. So it's, I need 6s to hit them, and they're pretty high nerve. So I realize I may have to, on the fly, kind of readjust and push with some of this middle stuff instead of just holding, actually be a little more aggressive moving to the left here. We rolled for first turn. I won the roll and I gave it to him. My thought process was some of these objectives are in the middle, they're in the open, and goblins are kind of squishy. And I wanted the ability to rush onto an objective and not get shot off if he had the bottom half of the turn. So let him go. He was a little more cautious than I expected. We've played the last 3 or 4 weeks, actually, pretty regularly. As my list has evolved, I think it's been getting more and more difficult for him. He was crushing me pretty reliably early on. The last couple of games have been close. And I think he, as the army list is evolving, he's trying to figure out exactly how to approach it when I've got so much stuff, but enough shooting pressure that he can't wait forever in the open. So he advanced aggressively on the left, very slowly on the right, keeping his bigger stuff that I could shoot with the catapults in cover, so it'd be harder for me. His ballistas here, took a couple shots at this rabble regiment to 2 wounds. I think that was the right call. I kept these guys in the cover here, hoping he would shoot at them, just to reduce his damage output. And only 2 wounds, didn't do too well anyway, but I think this was the better target for him. The bottom of turn 1. It's almost like I feel like I'm playing chess. You know, you have to move the pawns up aggressively to kind of open up your back ranks for the more powerful units. I set this up on the right here so that I was trying to set it up where it's either front charges or this wing general, be on a beast, could, if he charges something, he's going to hit it. He will kill something that's weak, or he'll get stuck and flanked, like over here. If he charges into here, the hope was that, I can flank charge here. I can flank charge if he charges a mincer. If he charges this mincer, this one moves up, and these guys can charge in. So and this mincer is out of 20 inches. He couldn't quite reach that one. So I think certainly the rabble regiment was. So yep. That's what that was. My shooting, the catapults here hit this general, put 6 wounds on him, and wavered him. And this catapult missed his general and beast. So this general does charge into the maw beasts. Looking at the picture now, I'm wondering maybe this angle thing wasn't put on correctly. It doesn't look like it's actually lined up with the corner, but because of the hills and stuff, it's hard to get flush. Either way, and we agreed that the mincer actually wasn't turned enough to have an angle on this flank here, so that was an error on my part. I'll have to make sure in the future to be a little more clear and double check my angles. But he gets this free charge off where I can't quite retaliate against him. You can see that over here. He starts a little bit of movement here on the right. The foot guard fanatics come forward. The beast cavalry and Pegasus move up as well, but they're still in the woods for cover. Backs up on the left. His Pegasus on the left here flies up and burns this token, which again, with my original game plan, I wasn't even planning on trying to seize that one. So him burning it actually kind of put in my mind, oh, maybe he's still holding this one. He didn't burn it. He's hoping to keep this one and deny me this one, which might not be a bad idea because I do have a decent amount of beef here in the middle. And just in general, game-wise, my brain was kind of focused on these as just objectives, and I wasn't thinking of the higher metagame of, do I rush forward and burn one? Do I try to claim them? Which ones are you going to keep? Which ones are you going to burn? They were just objectives, and that was, I think, the right move. His shooting, he put a couple shots into this horde here in the middle, and he wavered my mob beasts on the right here, which is extra annoying because, again, I can't countercharge, so now I have to actually be careful, too, of he could just fly away next turn. So not only am I trying to set up a charge for him, but I'm trying to make sure he doesn't get better positioning the next turn. So on the bottom of 2, my turn, I took it's not a huge gamble, but it's a bit of a gamble. I charged that Pegasus with these 2 hordes. Should do plenty of wounds, but if I roll Snake Eyes, he suddenly got flank charges. He can take out a lot of my strength over here on the left. Very unlikely, but we've all rolled Snake Eyes before, and this early in the game with his flyers, it seemed kind of risky to me. Speaking of my goblin front line being kind of like pawns in a chess game, this rabble regiment here in the middle just took the charge up into his foot guard. Obviously, they're going to lose, but as I said, my goal is to try to focus on his flyers and fast movers first, kill them, and then focus on the infantry. And this rabble regiment is just going to hold things up for a turn to let me focus on him more piecemeal, hopefully. And on the right corner down here, like I said, I tried to jam up space. These Fleabag riders here move so that the house is protecting their flank, and they're facing left. And this small beast with the Brew of Sharpness is facing to the right. So if he tries to fly anywhere in my backfield, one of these units is going to be able to see him and charge him, which I don't think he wants. And we set up everything else here for the eventual, hopefully, countercharge into him. Shooting, I put 5 wounds on the giant. He's the only real target I have right now. I think these catapults actually another potential issue. The 48 inches for these two catapults is not quite on this general with beast or winged beast. So that's also another issue with I can't actually clear this objective because I'm just out of range. My melee here on the left did kill the Pegasus, so we cleared him out. And I don't know if I did any wounds on this foot guard in the middle. If so, I don't think it played any role in the game. I don't have any notes on it, but they've accomplished their mission of at least holding him up for a turn. So that's the important part. I realized at the end of my turn, I moved these regiments and rabble first. I wanted to make sure my flag get here had line of sight to put Bane Chant on this unit just to make extra sure I could kill the stupid Pegasus, right? So I moved him over, and I realized he's kind of exposed. We got two flying units. He's stuck on the end here where they could just fly over and very easily hit him. And in fact, obviously the setup here on the table is not 100% accurate to what was on the table. This rabble regiment and stuff is a little further to the left, a little flatter, because he was, on his turn, he was looking at opportunities to fly over and hit the rabble. So he was thinking about it, and for whatever reason, it didn't even register in his brain that there's an individual out here that's a target he could fly over. Oh, which is good, because I think that would have been awful if he had charged that, taken out my inspiration, and didn't just pick these guys apart. And it would have set him up maybe to fly further over. Top of 3 is a big turn for the Kings of Men. A major charge on the left here. He ultimately, after a lot of consideration, double charged this rabble horde. He pops his J-boots here, so these guys are charged fully. This guy is in the cover, so he's a hindered charge, but still should do a decent amount of wounds to help out over here, and they're already at 4 wounds. He shoots his ballistas into the Sharpstick horde. Ultimately, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I think it's a positive. I did a pretty good job of every turn he has to shoot a different target, so he's not focusing down any unit with these ballistas and wiping them off. He's 2 here, 4 over here, 3 here, spreading them out a little bit. It didn't look like it on this, but this Pegasus was actually in range to charge this Mincer, so he did kind of what I do with my Rabble Regiment and charges this Mincer to pin it, hold it down for a turn. Winged Beast Horde and the Giant charge into my Spear Horde up here on the hill. And what else? Obviously, this general didn't have a lot of other options. He charges this small beast pack again, hoping to clear them and then maybe turn to face this Mincer, I think. There was no other real good spots for him to go. And I finally moved the captain to be properly placed over here, inspiring and giving a rally to all these units. No surprise. Well, I don't say no surprise, but he did plenty of wounds to this rabble horde over here and kills them. He does a decent amount of wounds in this rabble regiment here and wavers them. The fanatics have to start moving around. Does 10 wounds to the spear horde here in the hill, and they hold. He, again, wavers my Maw Beast pack here. And I think that's about it. You can see the lineup here. So after he kills this horde of rabble, this is how he reforms. And I've got a lot of options. I'm just trying to figure out what the correct one is. This corner is actually just shy, so I could, theoretically, if I move these spear horde forward, which they look like human spearmen, but trust me, they're goblins. They're goblins. I could double charge this guy and shoot him with catapults because he's more than half out of the forest, but then he's not grounded. This guy has 6 wounds, so he's close to death, but just the rabble regiment charging him probably wouldn't kill him. I could charge the spears here, ground these guys, and then maybe ground him, especially with Banechant helping. I had a lot of options, but ultimately I kind of chose the opposite and kind of a crisscross. The Rabble Regiment charged the Horde, again, just trying to hold him for a turn, and I wanted to make sure I had a good chance of killing this guy, so this Spear Horde charges him. So you can see here the crisscross and the sharp sticks moving up just to get out of the way and set up options. On the right, I finally get my flank charge with the Mincer. And counter charge here, the Pegasus Wizard didn't do anything to my Mincer. The starting to kind of develop here with my 2 faster units. Just setting up because I assume next turn this Horde's not going to be here. So Maw Beasts with Proof Sharpness, Fleabag Riders with Blessing moving up. It's kind of funny. I was expecting to charge maybe the Mincer or these Luggets or something into this Foot Guard regiment, but they're held up. So I'm kind of slowed. The Mincer, everyone's just kind of setting up for eventually when this regiment goes away. The Spearmen and one of my blasters charge this horde of winged beasts, and then my catapults all shoot the giant. I think we get up to 10 or 11 wounds and waver him, which is great. He has fury, but since he's not engaged, he is not countercharging, he can't. So he's just stuck for a turn, which is wonderful. I don't know if the blaster itself did 14 wounds or if it was a total of 14 wounds between the blaster and the spear horde. But either way, we put a lot of wounds on this dragon or this winged beast horde and wipe them out, which is great. Blasters are swingy, but sometimes you get lucky and they swing the way you need them to. So yeah, wavered him. We killed that. We wavered this general winged beast. We only did 1 wound in the Pegasus here, but at least it's grounded. In a way, it's kind of like this regiment here of Rabble. It is holding me up, though, which is annoying because I got to start getting to these. I'm not developing this flank very well. We do kill the general winged beast on the left here and put just a couple of wounds on this winged beast horde, which I just needed 1, so I'm happy. The Banechant actually failed. I put the Banechant on them just to try to ensure a wound and failed, so it was a little risky, but it paid off. So, top of 4. Let's see, ballastas. Oh, yeah, so he's got limited shooting, actually, but it paid off pretty well. These 2 ballastas put 5 wounds in the Luggets here, and this ballista here fires and kills this catapult. So shooting does a pretty good job this turn. They're fearless, dash 15, so they don't get wavered. They survive, but 5 wounds is pretty good, especially because I think at least some of those shots were through cover. Let's see. I kind of realize now I was wondering if he's going to hold this or burn this. He's backing his foot guard up, trying to stay at 10 inches. He's trying to hold it as long as possible, only burning it if absolutely necessary. So I'm going to have to go over there at some point. And I'm not close enough to move 5 inches and be within 3. He's always playing the distance very carefully here. Obviously, he charges or countercharges my rabble. The Fanatics were in range. I think even without the wild charge D3, but certainly with it. So they charge in, they pop their Blood of the Old King. Again, the foot guard in here, and just kind of, most of the stuff is holding at this point. You can see just kind of how everything is developed. Pike Regiment is back here holding this objective. These guys, Fanatics, have charged up the hill into me. So the Beast Cavalry, of course, smoke that Rabble Regiment, no problem. The Foot Guard put a couple more wounds on, but again, just waver this regiment. They fail again, which kind of good, but actually is kind of a problem now because I need to move forward and start clearing units, and they're just blocking me. I can't even charge with the Mincer because they can't combo charge. They're just stuck. The Fanatics here they did like 10 or 11 wounds. They wipe the spear horde. No wounds over here in the mincer. So in a way, this is good. These guys they've held, they've done a few wounds. Now they're out of the way, so the next wave can move in. So at the bottom of 4, what do we got? I don't know why. I was worried that, hey, I got to make sure that this winged beast horde can't rear charge me. So I lined everything up so that they were exactly even. But as long as I cause a wound, they're going to be grounded. They can't get around. So I don't know exactly why I was so concerned about that. And you can see I've been doing a lot of charges out of this cover, charged into the woods. I think one maybe had this force in the way. When I first was messing around with building this army list, I saw that the flaget had an aura of Strider for infantry only. And I was like, who cares? They're goblin infantry. You're not trying to do wounds with them. But, every game I've used, I put them over by the cover, and they do a lot of charges. And while the goblin infantry isn't doing the majority of my wounds, every turn they're putting out 5 or 10, between multiple units, and it does add up over time. This aura of Strider is really useful, especially when combined with the Bane chant he has. I couldn't fit both of these cav regiments in up here. There just wasn't enough room, especially because I wanted to put the Luggets into the giant to make... Because I could have shot the giant, but again, these are swingy, they're not reliable. To be sure and get a lot of dice, I ran the Luggets into him. So there wasn't enough room to get both my cavalry regiments into these fanatics. So I wasn't sure if just the Maw Beast with the Brew of Sharpness would be enough. 12 attacks, hitting on 2s, 10 hits, wounding on 2s was vicious. So 10 wounds or dash 15 with the captain here, or rally, they're at 16. So I had a blaster, towed in on the hill here, you could see. So I just ran the blaster into the captain, hoping to blow him up and maybe take that inspiring and rally away. And flank charge everything over here. Did good wounds on the left here. Again, 6, I think, wounds. And again, if they had been hindered, they had been hitting on 6s, I probably would have been halved. So, yeah, not an alpha strike unit by any means, but just decent, consistent wound output. I blow up. I waver the captain with 7 wounds with brutal from the blast. So didn't quite kill him, but I think it was still the right call. Obviously, the Luggets with Bane Chant assistance here kill the giant, and we get lucky. We spike the nerve roll a bit and wipe out these guys. We kill the General and Winged Beast. We kill the Pegasus. So the right flank is really clearing up now. The bigger question is, it's the bottom of 4, so the game could end in 2 turns. Can I get enough stuff from pinned over here to these central objectives and survive being shot at? Turn 5. So the captain is mighty, and he just kind of, does his pivot and moonwalk backwards to block up a little bit, which is the correct call. The ballistas shoot at my Maw Beast on the hill. The Luggets actually were able to advance enough that they were majority off, so he couldn't see them. But he did see the Maw Beasts, but because they were in cover from the other hill, he didn't hit them, thankfully. Charges back into the Rabble Regiment again, of course, and countercharging here. No surprise. Well, at this rate, it's kind of a surprise, but yes, he finally kills this Rabble Regiment. Puts 10 wounds on the sharp sticks over here, but that's not enough to do anything to them. And he makes the calculations. He's like, okay, I have to charge now. He is now still within 3 inches of this objective, but I am not. And he's hoping if he can hold me up for a couple of turns, he may still be able to claim this one. And if things look bad, he can always burn it because I'm not contesting yet. Again, playing objectives and scenario pretty well. Bottom of 5. So yep, countercharge, countercharge. Because that rabble regiment is finally gone, it looks weird I have to overlap, but again, this is not an exact replica of what was going on the tabletop. The maw beasts here were able with nimble to get around and hit this foot guard regiment along with my mincer. My fleabag riders just boost up and try to take mostly shelter behind the hill while still being able to claim this token or move and take this one if I need to. And I start slowly developing. This mincer was right along the board edge, and I kind of realized, well, now I can't pivot and move, because if he pivots at all, he's off the board edge. So I have to sidestep him. Yeah, it's just, this guy turns around, but even if he moves 10 inches, he's not going to be close enough to claim this on the bottom of 6. So this is a turn 7 play, which is never a good place to be. Yep. And again, my ballastas or my catapults are running out of targets, which I suppose is a good problem to have. These cavalry here on the left are not inspired. We again put 5 wounds or so on them, and that's enough to kill them. 6 wounds on the foot guard. We, with these combined charge here, wipe out and advance over the foot guard. We kill the captain. So yeah, good turn overall, just cleaning up. And now it's, can I get these objectives, or can he keep me off of them? Kind of the board state, just to actually show where it is. Yeah, what else is there to say? Oh, these luggets turn around, so they're lined up so they can run. They can march 10 inches, and I think they can also, at the bottom of 6, get on this objective down here, if needed. Yeah, you can see this one. So, top of 6. So this pikeman regiment, every once in a while people joke about using terrain to your advantage. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention during deployment or what. This building was super tall. I couldn't see them. I didn't realize there were troops back here. I just thought this was going to be a uncontested, unclaimed objective. So when these guys march out and grab that token, it's like, oh crap, I don't have any way to deal with them. And that means he's got one more token claimed than I expected, which could be a problem. He's got 1, 2. He had this third one, but because I did 6 wounds over here and he's uninspired, he decided to burn this one, especially if the game went to 7 turns. It was too risky, so he just got rid of it. His shooting, his ballastas, he actually shot this horde and wavered them. He was worried that I'd be able to march up and pivot, I think, and contest this, and then it'd be just too much meat on this point. He did not charge with his pikemen over here. If he had charged the mincer, we kind of angled it and figured out that these maw beasts would get a flank charge on him, which he definitely didn't want. So instead, he just kind of, again, like this foot regiment over here, foot guard, he moved up far enough that he would still be claiming this objective. My guys, if they charged him, would not, and I couldn't get around him to contest it if it ended on 6, so I'd have to kill him. And yep, I think that's it there. And you can see him lined up. So bottom of 6. Obviously, we fight over here some more on the left. We double charge here. I'm hoping with the Brew of Sharpness, even being hindered, they're hitting on 3s. He was not in the forest. I don't know if... Yeah, I mean, it's close. You can see the edge of the forest here, but when he charged, he was not actually touching it, unlike on here. So he's sitting on 3s. He's going to get Bane chanted, so he's wounding on 2s with Vicious. If we can get at least a wound through here with Brutal, we have a good chance of killing these guys. Fleabags move up to claim this and kind of shield, because they're height 3, these Luggets who run forward to claim this one, and everything else is just running. These mob beasts speed 6 and nimble, so they can fill in if somebody else dies and they need to. And our catapults, they are just in range to actually shoot this guy. We put 5 wounds on him. So there's a chance we might get lucky next turn and clear him off if it goes to turn 7. Which, Oh, let's see. Yeah. So we do actually roll well. We kill this regiment of pikemen here and overrun onto the objective. We kill the foot guard, so burning over here was obviously the right call. It does go to turn 7. There's not much he can do. I think he was kind of thinking about it. He's like, if it was closer objective-wise in the tournament, maybe he would have gone for the Hail Mary to shoot these flea bags, or if it wasn't a tournament. But however it worked, in a tournament, sometimes if you're going to lose this scenario, you go for kill points. So he shot the rabble horde over here, the spear horde, and killed them just to get some more points to help with differential, or however they call it. So he wipes them out. And on my turn, my catapults do kill that pikeman regiment, and we consolidate and move forward. And we have 1, 2, 3 objectives to his 0. So, obviously a goblin victory. Can't complain about that. It went pretty much as I had hoped. Got a lot of lessons learned here to consider. Like I said, in the game, the Strider Standard Bearer aura is much more useful than I expected. And if you just the 3 simple inspiring sources of Bane Chant seem like a good setup. I've been messing around in some of my earlier games with like Magua and Juaz, or whatever his name is, or some of the other characters. But ultimately I found that putting too many points in these more special characters, just like with putting more shooting in my list. If I had ballistas, I think I put that in here too, on point number 2. I had more bolt throwers or war trombones in some of my previous iterations. I had like a salamander mage priest with fireball. He's inspiring and he's shooting. So I thought, well, maybe if I put more shooting in his work, that all ends up, I lose units, and then they get killed pretty quickly, and I can't punch back in melee quickly enough. I can't move forward and advance quickly enough. So over evolution, the simple inspiring sources of Bane Chant and more units and just a little bit of shooting seems to be working best. In fact, I put in here the left flank, 690 points versus 445. Did I put? Yeah, I put a picture in here. So, you look at it, really, it was 2 sharp sticks hordes, a rabble regiment, a rabble horde, and this flaggit, and 1 volley of 2 catapult shots that wavered that general on Winged Beast. That chunk of points really was what was up against the Winged Beast horde, the foot guard, the general on Beast, and the Pegasus. And point-wise, it's his side was 690 points and mine was 445. His ballistas did a couple shots onto my troops, and my catapults did 1 volley on his guys. So, it worked out pretty well. Blasters are amazing. They're only 65 points. Sometimes they're swingy, and they, this game, they put a lot of wounds on that Winged Beast horde and helped kill him in 1 shot. A couple of games ago against the same opponent, they charged into the giant and, again, did like 12, 13 wounds, and he'd already been injured by catapults that blew him up in 1 shot. You just can't go wrong. It's an extra drop. It's technically a unit that can claim things, and they can put damage on just about anything we need it. I've been playing a lot more frequently, and I can feel that everything is it makes more sense. It's cleaner play. I point out a couple errors, like that standard bearer is exposed on the left. I was becoming myopic and looking just at, can I get in line of sight for Bane Chant instead of what are the ramifications of hanging out here, not behind my unit. The poor mincer angle. The traffic jam, with so many units, I kind of have to. And I think in a way it's positive to have such a deep, just a cluttered second line, because it hinders flyers, but it also sets up a lot of countercharge options with all the nimble units that charging my front line is risky too. There's a lot of calculations the enemy has, but ultimately, while the traffic jam, the full back line is good, As we saw with that building and stuff, I can still get jammed up pretty badly. So it's a little bit of lessons learned to make sure I space out or think ahead properly so I don't get too jammed up. I'm concerned this list has evolved in a very, very one-dimensional environment. All the armies it's facing locally are flying alpha strike type things. So I'm curious if it's going to be effective against other types of lists. I think so. I mean, I think I have the tools necessary to deal with most armies. And, the one army that always scared me is Night Stalkers because I like shooting and, they have innate resistance to it. But with the only shooting I have is the 3 catapults. So it's not like I'm absolutely dependent on it. It helps, but it's also more of a pressure thing to not let flyers and cavalry trying to set up alpha strikes have unlimited time to play around and look for flanks and set up multi-charges that wipe out units immediately. And it's not the same kind of play style that Night Stalkers have. So we'll see. Every unit seems to have a role, and it does it well. Even the stupid little rabble regiments, they're only 75 points. On paper, they're mediocre, but we had the one holding up the foot guard and a lot of his army for multiple turns. The one on the left flank, it charged in, it did a couple wounds, it grounded the flyers for a turn, and they absorbed some shooting and didn't let it really be useful ultimately. So it's great. The Maw Beasts, like I mentioned, I used to spam them because on paper, they're like, hey, these are the perfect second line unit. They're cheap, they hit hard, they're the most point efficient, for damage. They're relatively quick and they're nimble, so they can get around. They're low, they're only height 2, so enemy artillery and stuff can't target them over my infantry. But they just weren't tough enough. If the game progressed, they couldn't rush forward to claim objectives late game because they would just get shot off. And they are irregular, so they unlock things, which was a problem because mincers and blasters are so useful. So I'm pretty happy with how things have evolved. As I mentioned also during the game, my opponent, he went to Masters. He's a great player. He had been handily beating me, and as the army has evolved, this is the first time I think through his playstyle and just through his talking during the game, he felt like he was on the back foot and was really struggling to find out how does he approach this list, because it counters everything he wants to do. His captain normally can redeploy, so he could put a lot of his fast flying units on one flank or the other easily and overwhelm his opponent's weaker flank. But my army is refusing a flank and stacking a side, so he could stack the empty flank, but that doesn't help him. It just lets me shoot him more. If he advances, I can hold him up with some of my sacrificial units, and I'm getting weird angles and shooting his hammer units. So he was a little more hesitant this time in trying to play more, again, scenario-based and trying to protect his units with cover and very systematically and carefully move in. I'm wondering if just naked aggression, if he had just advanced on a wide front with everybody, just rushed in. Because individually, his units are all better than mine. Don't know if it would work better or not. That was my thought, though. The way things played out, I think, played in my favor because, again, I was able to focus systematically on his units, and I was not overwhelmed with competing interests. It was always just a couple of units at a time that I could focus on and wipe out. But let me know what you think. Again, I can't complain. It went well for me. I'm mostly interested to see what your thoughts are on, is this list just evolved for a one-dimensional stopping, flying, or a cavalry-based alpha strike type unit, or does it have the tools necessary to face like ogres or something else? So let me know what you think.